let's talk about what should we prepare and how we should prepare, how much time we need to give for phase one exam. So, coming to microeconomics, in microeconomics, you can expect questions like they will give you a particular utility function, you have to drive the demand function, right? Or questions like they will give you a particular cost function. They are saying drive the production function from that cost function. So these are kind of two marker questions. So one marker question could be, for example, a lexicographic reference is given. Then they are asking about what is the uh, shape of IC in this scenario. So how can we differentiate two marker and one marker? In one marker, they are asking more about factual or memory based, more about, but you need to apply somewhat or little bit of your mind. But in paper two, they are asking more where you need to apply your mind, right? So in this scenario, how one should prepare, so if I need to prepare, I will not focus again and again, do more and more questions, right? Because we need to see how to think. You have read many things, right? But there might be the case where you are not able to solve the question, but you know the concept. Now, how to, so I know you are not at step zero or step one where the conceptual knowledge is missing, right? So I am assuming that right now you have some conceptual knowledge. Now you need to focus on how can we apply that knowledge to solve a particular question. So basically, how we need to think, because we have that knowledge, we know the concept, but we don't know how to think, right? For example, there is one question I was discussing yesterday in my class. The question says that Sonia is consuming X, and in that consumption of X, she is always consume 1/10 of her income. Then you need to tell the elasticity of demand. So this was a question. So now, if you know the concept, this question is linked with Cobb-Douglas utility function, let's say, right? Because if 1/10 income is consumed on good X, then the remaining, that is 9/10 income, should go to good Y. And in this case, Cobb-Douglas utility function will become X to the power 1 by 9, Y to the power 9 by 10, right? And in this scenario, we know that the elasticity of demand is equals to -1 for good X as well as for good Y, right? But the question is for good X, therefore, the elasticity of demand is -1. So you can tell this if you know the concept. Also, if you have solved many questions, because just by knowing the concept, it might be possible that a particular concept or how to think or how to approach a particular question will not so you are not able to think as fast as you can if you solve more and more questions in exam hall, right? So therefore, we need to give stress more on how to solve more and more questions, because right now I'm assuming that your conceptual knowledge is clear or somewhat clear, if not properly clear, right? Coming to macroeconomics, we can we can see questions related to welfare economics, related to exchange. So I have seen questions in phase one, which is related to exchange, where we need to find price uh, price ratio in the case of general equilibrium, or what is the optimal of consumer A and consumer B, that is XA, XB, uh, X, sorry, XA, YA, XB, YB. There is one common question where students generally don't know how to answer that. When both have utility function which is equals to min utility function, and in this case, let's say the endowment of good X, the total endowment of good X is more as compared to good Y, then what is the price ratio? If this is the only question, what the question is, right now, consumer A and consumer B have min function, min X comma Y. The total endowment is given to us, which is, let's say, X equals to 10 and Y equals to 9. In this scenario, what is the price ratio? If you solve this question in exam, obviously you will not get the answer, right? Because it will take some time, right? You need to be very pro. So how to solve those questions in exam? just by practice more and more and more and right. Coming to macroeconomics, you can expect questions from ISLM. In ISLM, the one marker question could be find the multiplier. The two marker question could be what is your fiscal policy multiplier, what is your monetary policy multiplier. If IS is steeper, what will happen to effectiveness of monetary policy? If IS is flatter, what will happen to effectiveness of monetary policy? You know that, right? If IS is steeper, then we need to see the effectiveness of monetary policy. If LM is steeper or flatter, we need to see the effectiveness of fiscal policy. So questions related to that. Since calculators are not allowed, I can expect less of those questions where we need to use less of calculator, right? And although I can expect more numerical questions, but complex calculations should not be there, according to me. Yeah. Okay. Then in the case of output and inflation, I have seen questions related to what is the relationship between what is Oken's law, what is the relation between Oken's law or unemployment and inflation, what is inflation, or more factual questions like what is current inflation, how we are targeting the current inflation, so on and so forth. Coming to monetary economics, I have seen questions related to classical monetary economics where they are more asking about MB is equals to PY thing. Also, why we are saying that money is neutral. On the basis of that, I have seen some questions. Yeah. Then coming to international economics, I have seen questions related to comparative absolute advantage in phase one. So please do study those, right? Then balance of payment. I have seen questions related to if uh, there is trade surplus, what is your capital balance of payment, or what is your balance of payment in total? How so some figures are given to you, some numbers are given to you. You need to find one particular variable which is missing. So these kinds of question I've seen from balance of payment. Exchange rate models, it is linked with more with Mundell-Fleming models and J curve. I have also seen one or two questions, rather one in almost every year related to trilemma, where we are using the Mundell-Fleming model, which says that we can't apply perfect capital mobility, uh, monetary monetary policy and the flexible exchange rate together. So these kinds of questions you can expect in phase one. Coming to theories and economic growth and development, but I always say that please do prepare solo model. It is the favorite topic of RBI, right? So do prepare for solo model thing, right? And you can also check for Harrod-Domer unit. So in the case of Harrod-Domer, there is one equation that you need to remember. That's all. But please do rigorous preparation with respect to solo model, right? And don't just read the concept. Please solve more and more questions. In the last class itself, which I have taken yesterday, there was one doubt. Now I know that that student has strong conceptual background, but she's not able to solve the question. The reason being, she has seen that question first time, and when we were discussing, then she's able to think, okay, this is asking, and this is how we need to approach the question. So again, I'm repeating that the most important thing is to solve more and more questions right now. This is a time, not 2 days before the exam, right? Okay. I've seen less questions on public finance and environmental economics. So it could be one or two, but I've seen very less questions. I've seen public economics questions rather, where they are asking about public good, how you can figure that out, public good, what are the properties of public good. So one marker question would be there, right? Coming to quantitative method in economics. In quantitative method in economics, I have seen questions uh, from stats and economics more as compared to maths. So in maths, I have seen they need, calculate the eigenvalue, the determinant is given to you, so on and so forth. But in this is only for phase one, I'm talking, not for phase two, right? Yeah. But in the case of stats, they are asking more about the probabilities, right? I have seen sometimes I've seen one, sometimes I've seen 3 to 4 questions related to probability. Now, in this scenario, since the question is of 1 and 2 marks, you should not do more complex probability question. There are two reasons for that. Number one, because of marks. Number two, they are avoiding complex calculations, right? They should, because calculators are not allowed. So you can't calculate much, right? So now what to focus on? You know, to focus on the basic. For example, many students will confuse in the concept of what is mutually exclusive and independent events. They think that independent means when probability A intersection B is equals to 0, but that is not true. That is mutually exclusive. What is independent? Probability A intersection B is equals to probability of A into probability of B. So these kinds of questions you need to prepare. So let's say one table is given. They are asking you whether for bivariate probability distribution where X and Y are given, whether the events are independent or not. So in this case, if any one event is dependent, then they are not independent, right? So this is how you need to solve the question. This is how you need to approach all the questions, that's it, right? Then in statistical method, I've seen questions related to normal distribution. I've seen questions related to find expectation, find variance of X. These questions you need to try, but the basic ones, the properties, basically they're asking. For example, if I give you one question, which is, what if, so can you tell me one thing? Can we say that expectation of X square is more than equals to expectation of X whole square, or the reverse, where reverse is expectation of X whole square is more than equals to expectation of X square. Now nothing is given to you. How to solve this question? In this case, we need to see the formula of variance. What is variance? Variance is equals to variance of X equals to expectation of X square minus expectation of X whole square, right? And variance is always positive. So if we put positive sign there, more than equals to 0 there, in that scenario, what we'll get? Expectation of X square is more than equals to expectation of X whole square. So I have seen this question. Now people are taking few examples and wasting their time. Don't do such mistakes in exam, right? People will say that the paper is lengthy. The paper is lengthy because you are doing it with the wrong approach, right? So how to get the right approach? Again, you need to solve more and more questions. You need to ask your doubts. Ask more and more doubts, right? And how will you ask more and more doubts? If you ask more and more questions, also, right? Then coming to econometrics, although they have written ordinary square regression, so basically you need to know what are the properties of OLS, that is blue. Why they are blue? Because of Gauss-Markov theorem. And if any assumption fail, what will happen to OLS estimators? You need to focus on ANOVA table. You need to focus on whether a particular estimator is significant or not significant. Basically, you need to know how to decide whether it is significant or not on the basis of p-value. So if you know how to manage all these questions, repeating that, uh, you need to know how whether an estimator is significant or not on the basis of p-value. You need to know the entire ANOVA table. They can ask anything from that. The fill in the blanks will given are given, and you need to fill all the missing values. You need to know if any assumption fail, then what will happen to OLS estimator? Will they be biased, unbiased? Will they be still blue? For example, in the multipolarity, even if there is multipolarity, the estimators are still blue, right? But we have higher variance. Even if the variance is higher, they are still blue. They are still efficient. Why? Because we are not able to get the any estimator which has lower variance as compared to OLS estimator. I have seen one question where they are asking, in the case of linear regression, will you apply OLS? The answer is yes. But in the case of non-linear regression, we can't apply OLS, right? So in that case, we need to use maximum likelihood estimators, right? So these basic things should be clear. They are testing your basics. They will test your advanced knowledge in phase 2, bache. Although the topics are same, but how to think fast, what is the right direction, they are checking that in phase 1. They will check whether you know the solution from A to Z in phase two, you need to write the answer and give them the solution, right?